Tony, looks like you're on mute.
All right. Is everyone able to hear me now? Seeing the screen okay? Awesome. We're going to go ahead and get started. I do think that we have quite a few people. We have about 98 people in. We're still expecting some more to come, but we have quite a bit to cover tonight. So I want to make sure we do get started on time. So my name is Dr. Tony Arnold McFarland. I'm the president of RTP NSBE. I'm excited because we have been working on this event since probably last fall when we first made our contact with some employees at Biogen. And finally, we've been able to pull things together. We did have some interruptions along the way, but we've all been through a few things that were uncertain, right? So I am glad that we are here tonight. We do have an exciting evening, and welcome everybody to our session tonight. We are the RTP NSBE chapter, and there's a few things I'm going to cover. You can go ahead to the next slide. The virtual housekeeping checklist, just because there's so many of us here, I want to make sure that it's a good virtual experience for everybody. So please be mindful of background noise. We would like for you to keep your audio on mute. And those who will be speaking and participating directly will have their videos on. Everyone, please have yours off. If you have questions that come up during the session tonight, please use the chat feature. Ask your questions there. And if there are any issues that arise during the webinar, please use the chat feature. We do have individuals who are helping us with that. You can use the private chat feature for any issues that you're having. There will be a Q&A session after Biogen presents to us. And we ask that you participate and wait to share at that time. But don't forget the major questions that might come up. So go ahead and put those in the chat. And be open-minded. We're going to have fun and have your questions ready. Next slide. So there may be people who are not familiar with NSBE. When you see NSBE, we call it NSBE, the National Society of Black Engineers. And just a few historical highlights. NSBE was founded in 1975 at Purdue University as the National Society of Black Engineers, as a college-led organization. And the founders are the Chicago Six, as you see listed there. There were some things that happened in a few years prior to that that led up to the need for the National Society of Black Engineers. There was a dropout rate of 80% of freshmen at Purdue University, and that was concerning for some students. Then they decided that they wanted to do something about it, and they wanted to close the gap and understand what retention measures could take place. So as a result, here we are. And in 1988, professionals were established as NSBE members. One of the first professional chapters was actually our chapter, the Research Triangle Professionals chapter. And then in 1990, NSBE expanded the organization to include secondary grade, middle and high school students. And we also have a NSBE junior chapter as well. And today it's grades 3 through 12. So this is some of the highlights around the history of the organization. In our next slide, we're going to have Carlin come up. She's our professional development chair. Carlin?
Thank you, Tony. Good evening, everyone. My name is Carlin Kearney, and I am the RTP NSBE's professional development chair. And I would love to share the NSBE mission with all attendees here. And most NSBE members know this by heart, so if you would like to recite this on mute, please join me as we state the mission. The NSBE mission is to increase the number of culturally responsible Black engineers who excel academically, succeed professionally, and positively impact the community. Now, we have a few initiatives that NSBE carries out, which you can do your part in helping us fulfill the mission. And we have a social justice initiative. The website is there to your bottom left. Our goal is to graduate 10,000 Black engineers per year by 2025. So you can join us in our coalition by graduation 10k.nsbe.org. And also we've joined in a coalition with other organizations to graduate 50k diverse engineers graduating annually by 2025. So there's a few information there. I'd like to now introduce Arthur Edge, who is the director of the Healthcare Innovation Special Interest Group, HISA, and he'll be sharing more information about the special interest group. And he is our partner in hosting this event this evening. Arthur?
Hey, thanks so much, Carlin. Again, Arthur Edge, Director for the Healthcare Innovation Special Interest Group. We are a national entity within the society comprised of all membership demographics, our pre-college, collegiate, and professional members. And we're really excited to have a partnership with the RTP professionals today, as well as Biogen. Just want to give a little bit of background about why we exist and start with a couple of important facts and figures with healthcare. So we all know that healthcare is expensive, right? Particularly in the United States. When you look at total spending, just a few years ago, we were at $3.65 trillion. That's a lot of money. I wish that was in my bank account. But when you compare that to other nations and their total GDP, if we looked at our spending alone on healthcare, that would equate to a country, if it existed, ranking number 3. But what's more is that the data continues to be staggering. If you look at how much we spend on average per person in the United States, it's almost 3 times, but definitely more than twice the average of other developing nations. And, what do we get for the amount that we spend? It is something worth questioning. And we can look at what those outcomes are on the next slide. So for the amount that we spend, you would think, wow, we should have the best healthcare outcomes. But if you look at how we compare to some of our peers, whether it's on life expectancy at birth, or even looking at some diseases that particularly impact the Black community and communities of color, like asthma or infant mortality, we continue to rank low, though we make significant financial investment. And part of that is certainly the impetus for why we exist within NSBE as the Healthcare Innovation Special Interest Group. So a quick snapshot into who we are and where we'd like to be in the future. We're really building a trusted ecosystem, a system that brings experts together to solve complex healthcare problems specifically impacting the Black community. We achieve that vision through our mission, which is really about innovations that attack injury, illness, and disease. But most importantly, I wanted to highlight a little bit of our strategy that will bring us forward to this event today. The strategy we not coincidentally call the CARE strategy, and it starts with connecting everyone on this call to other professionals in academia, government, and industry so that you can advance your personal and professional goals. And once that network is assembled, you can do one of 3 things. You can advance, specifically develop innovations through research, development, and commercialization programs that we have. You can also help us with recruiting and retaining individuals in the healthcare industry. Or you can help us in educating and exposing the larger community, and specifically the Black community, about the careers, innovations, and disparities that exist. We were founded about 4 years ago, and our membership continues to grow even today. I actually note I need to update these figures, but we have over 5,000 members now across the country and are looking to specifically build out our ecosystem, if you will, in the RTP area, hence our partnership with the professional chapter there and Biogen. But we have hubs in every center around the US and look forward to helping you get engaged. There's a team that helps me in doing all of this great work. I won't highlight all of them, but just will say that they're experts across all modes of healthcare, whether it's IT, biomedical devices, myself similarly working in pharma, and we're here to connect with you, network, and learn about how we can be of support. And with that, I will hand over the program to our partners today at Biogen. We're really excited to hear from them, learn a bit about biotechnology and the great work that they're doing, and also a couple of career opportunities that might be of interest and benefit. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Arthur. So for those that are going to hear me throughout the night, I'm Emily Johnson. I am with Talent Acquisition at Biogen. So we are incredibly excited to be here tonight. And just a reminder, you're going to hear a lot of speakers through the next probably 45 minutes to an hour. As much as it's going to pain my group to not answer questions on the spot, just based on the volume and the time that we have allotted, I would recommend, if you have a great question and you don't want to forget it, go ahead and drop it in the chat, and we will utilize that during our Q&A session, and we'll get through the content and then open it up for questions at that point. But I'm extremely excited to be able to introduce our kickoff speaker, which is Mark Benz. So Mark is the Vice President and General Manager of Biogen RTP Campus, where he oversees multiple manufacturing facilities and nearly 1,500 employees. Mark has more than 25 years of experience in clinical and commercial manufacturing, process development, plant and process safety, and continuous improvement methodologies. So Mark just joined Biogen from Roche Genentech in California, where he has recently led Genentech's next generation biomanufacturing plant and drove operational effectiveness and a best-in-class plant safety record. And prior to his tenure at Genentech, Mark held various operational and leadership roles of increasing responsibilities at Amgen, Merck, and Celera Genomics. Not only has he led successful teams through major acquisitions, oncology product launches, and on-time supply delivery in over 75 countries, he also holds a BS in chemistry as well as in operations management, a master's of business for veterans, and is a Gulf War veteran with the United States Marine Corps. So Mark is proud to now call North Carolina his new home, and he resides in Hillsborough with his partner and his 2 Mastiff canines. So thank you so much for joining us, Mark. I'll hand it over to you.
Mark, I think you're on mute. Still can't hear you.
How about that, Carla? Good?
Perfect.
Perfect.
All right, good. I think we were both pushing the button at the same time. I apologize for that. I want to thank, I love having my NSBE partners, and I love saying that word. That's pretty cool too. So Tony, Carla, and Arthur, appreciate you guys hosting us tonight, letting us be here. And again, letting us be part of this engagement. It's really exciting for me to be here. I was thinking about this. It's 35 years since my journey back to North Carolina when I was stationed as a much younger version of myself back in Camp Lejeune. And I really enjoyed being in there at that time. And coming back to North Carolina has been important to me. And I've been all over the globe in my journey, and it's odd to bring it back to this location. But the things that Biogen is doing at this location, of all the companies I've been with and all the places I've been, is so unique in the modalities and the differences that you can experience in one place. It's unlike any other in the world. And so I'm excited to be a part of this team and at Biogen. I've looked through this deck tonight, guys. It is jam-packed. There is so many things out there. I was able to jump in early on, coming out of the service as a small town farm boy that grew up into this. And I really appreciate the opportunity to even get where I got to. I would encourage you tonight as you go through this, look at things with an open mind and an opportunity. Get your foot in the door in something that may or may not be what you want, because I can promise you things I thought I really was going to love may not be things that I was in love with, and things that later that I knew that maybe I didn't want turned out to be things I was super passionate about later on in my career. So I encourage you to open mind, open thoughts, listen tonight, and really blow up that chat room. I'm excited to be here with 130 almost of my closest friends this evening. And I want to talk to you a little bit about, Biogen itself before I turn it over to the team to let them run with this. The company itself is very focused in neuroscience, and where we're going and what we're doing in this space is incredibly important. This is a modality in a field that most companies stay away from, or they only have small programs. Biogen, in their wisdom, decided to focus in an area that's hard, it's difficult, but it's also an area that's most unmet. And if you think about major disease states that are out there, multiple sclerosis is one, Alzheimer's is another one, Parkinson's disease. There are diseases that are, as Arthur was talking about earlier, very much unmet in our nation and what's going on. that's a place for us to be able to play and to understand where others won't go, we will. So I would encourage you, if that's your approach or that's what you're thinking, this is probably a great fit for you as you go through this tonight. So try to keep that in mind as we move forward. Again, another thing that I'm super proud of with this company is the diversity is the strength of our culture. I told you we were going after neuroscience and we're very aggressive in that space, and our pipeline is unbelievable in that, best in the world probably in neuroscience alone. In that space, the strength of our company is based on the diversity of the assets in which we bring in. And I'm super excited to have a company that is as big as we are, but yet still feels like a small company that can work together. Our mindset is company first, function second, and self third. And it seems odd that we structure it in that way, but it's that diversity of the partnership and bringing that individual thinking and those unique mindsets together. Very similar to what you saw earlier when Carlin was talking about the mission. It just lines up really well. And so I thank you all for being here. I'm very humbled to be able to open this up. I'm excited to turn it over to this team tonight and encourage you, sit down and grab your favorite beverage or your favorite snack and listen into these guys, lean in a little bit. And I think you're going to get a lot out of this, but thank you very much for letting us be a part of this. And I think, Emily, I turn it back over to you.
That's me. All right, Carlin, if you don't mind just going back a couple of slides to get to the agenda, just to give everybody a heads up of what we plan to cover tonight. So we're going to give you a high-level introduction to Biogen. We're going to talk a little bit about what biotech is for those that may be completely new to the industry, and kind of what we do. And then we have a couple of really generous speakers that are going to talk specifically to our Biogen engineering organization. We have our intern and co-op lead that is going to talk to you about those opportunities if you're not quite ready for the full-time gig yet, but are interested in maybe getting some experience in that setting. And then we have two really exciting speakers that are going to talk to you about their personal experiences with Biogen. One is going to be an engineer path, and one's going to be a completely different area for those of you that may not be sold or may not be in the engineering space. There's definitely something for everybody here. And then, like we've talked about, we'll open it for a panel Q&A with a good variety of Biogen employees, so you can pick some brains. And so that's what you can plan on hearing this evening. So our next speaker that is going to talk to you through the Biogen overview is Jyotika Sharma. And so I'm excited to introduce her. She is a senior manager within IT at Biogen in RTP. She holds a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering from the National Institute of Technology in India. And she received her master's degree in management from Duke University, where she also won the Health Sector Management Leadership Award in 2015. She was busy because in 2016, her team won the CIO 100 award for the top 100 innovative programs in life sciences industry. In 2017, she joined Triangle Women in STEM as a steering committee member and serves as a diversity and inclusion champion. And as a woman in STEM herself, she is passionate about advancing the organization's vision to establish North Carolina's Triangle region as the preeminent destination for women in STEM fields. On a personal perspective, she enjoys spending time with her two kids, Ronit and Arnav, traveling around the globe and watching Duke basketball games. She's currently an IT partner at Biogen, defining and implementing big data and analytics strategies. And over the past 14 years, she's really enjoyed working within this industry to help solve business operations and IT problems. She believes her strength lies in her ability to partner with business units and IT and facilitate business IT alignment. So welcome, and look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Hello. Hey, Emily, I can't start my video. Do you want to?
That's all right. You can go ahead,
Okay.
and we'll work on that.
Okay, so thank you for giving me the opportunity. I'm really excited and humbled to be here to be talking about Biogen. As Mark mentioned, Biogen is a biotechnology company, and we are pioneers and innovators in neurological disorders. And our commitment is to the patients, is at the core at what we do. Our creed is care deeply, work fearlessly, and change lives. Emily, do you want to move to the next slide? All right, I'm going to talk about a little bit history about Biogen. Biogen was founded in Geneva, Switzerland in 1978. by Phil Sharp and Walter Gilbert, who both received Nobel Prize in different years. Walter Gilbert received in 1980, and Phil Sharp received a Nobel Prize in 1993. In 1982, we had our Cambridge headquarters opened, and Biogen went public in 1983. We had our first manufacturing site opened up in RTP location in 1995, and our first flagship MS product, which is a huge neurological disorder. We had our first product for MS approved in 1996. And in 2003, we merged with IDEC, another company, and we opened our Zug headquarters recently after that. And by the time 2004, we were recognized as the third biggest biotechnology company in the world. We had another product for MS, relapsing remitting forms of MS, Tysabri, approved in 2006. And we acquired a couple of molecules, companies before 2010, when our new CEO, George Scanzos, joined the company, and we were lucky to have him on board. It was actually a tremendous time of growth for the company. We had 5 products approved after George Scanzos joined the company. In 2014, we had our oral drug for MS, which is Tecfidera, approved, in 2013, and in EU, it was approved in 2014. We had a couple of other products like Alprolix and Loctate, which is which was approved, but later on we disbanded as a separate company for Bioverativ. These are our factor 8 and factor 9 products for hemophilia, which were later disbanded into a different company. We had Plegridy approved, just giving you a gist of how many products we had approved, during that growth period. We acquired Convergence Pharmaceuticals in 2015. And we entered into a rare disorder market. Spinraza was approved for a disease called SMA, spinal muscular atrophy. And biosimilars, I heard somebody talk about the outcomes, and biosimilars is an area that Biogen is targeting for the outcomes, for the cost effectiveness. We had 3 products, Benepali, Flixabi, and Imeraldi, approved in 2016, mostly in EU because we didn't have a path for biosimilars in US at that time. And then in 2017, we were lucky to have our current CEO, who's Michel Vinatzos. He joined the company, and the company moved the international headquarters to Bar. And in 2018, we are celebrating here 40 years of being in the industry. And 2019, we had another product approved for MS, which is Vumerity. We also acquired Nightstar, and Biogen diversified itself from neurological disorders into ophthalmology with the acquisition of Nightstar, and they have 2 products for eye disorders that we are looking forward to partner with them. All right, as Mark mentioned, neuroscience is at the heart of what we do, and no other disease area holds as much need. There is so much unmet need in this area, and there is requirement for innovators, for research and development, and for more pioneers in this area. But that is our focus, and we hold promise for medical breakthroughs in this area. So let's move to the next slide. As I mentioned, our mission is very, very clear. Our patients are at the heart of what we do. We pioneer in neuroscience with our flagship products being in MS, and we are looking forward to diversify our portfolio, as I'll mention in the next coming slides. All right, so just a little bit background. There are neurological disorders are the #1 cause of disability worldwide, and #2 cause of deaths in overall in the world. And the focus areas for Biogen are multiple sclerosis, dementia, which is a broad platform of diseases, and we are focusing on Alzheimer's disease, where Alzheimer's disease accounts for 60 to 70% of dementia platform. Spinal muscular atrophy is another debilitating disease, and it happens mostly in infants. And it's a disease where the muscles don't get developed, and the kid is not able to walk or they are not able to have the same motor skills as a normal kid would. ALS, this is also known as Lou Gehrig's disease. Again, there is no cure. There is a huge unmet need in this area. Right now, we don't have any cure in the market. Parkinson's disease is another for movement. It causes tremors, and it's a huge burden on the society for healthcare. And patients are looking at us for the disease to meet these unmet needs. So we are focusing on these in the neurological space. Ophthalmology, as I talked about it, our partnership with Nightstar has led us to diversify in this area. All right. So at the heart of what we do, there is I don't know how many of you know, but there's a lot of research and development going on within Biogen. But overall, it's like a fish. You fish for, you might look for, try to fish for something and you find only one during the day. So research and development is something similar where, there might be years and years pass by and you might not be able to come up with a drug. And just to provide some numbers on Alzheimer's, there were 244 drugs in market and only one was a success. So we employ some of the best in neuroscience research, and it has to be the best of class. And a lot of money is spent in bringing drugs to market. I don't know if anybody wants to take a guess, but it's approximately 1 billion from the time we start the research to all the way to bringing it to the market. And 19% of our annual revenues are invested into R&D over the past decade. And 2.3 billion is spent on R&D in 2019 alone. There are 170 plus active studies going on, just to focus on, how broad of a program we Biogen feel our research and development is. And it's important for us to have the largest and broadest programs in the biopharma industry. So let's move forward. We have 13 life-changing medicines that are in the pipeline right now, and 6 approved MS therapies, as we talked about. Our flagship products, Avonex, Tysabri, Plegridy, and Tecfidera, which is an oral drug. Vumerity is another oral drug, and Spinraza for SMA. All right, so let's talk about MS, which is our oldest and the flagship product. We have a lot of experience in this area. There are approximately more than 1 million MS patients that we treat worldwide. And I don't know if anybody knows, but this is a disease of the central nervous system that disrupts the flow of information between the brain and the body. And right now we have 35% of MS patients that are on Biogen's medicines globally. SMA is another disease. It's a rare disease, and it affects one of the genes that kids are not born with. And approximately 1 in 10,000 kids are affected with SMA. And it's the leading genetic cause of death in infants, and a leading cause of disability in teenagers and adults. And Biogen had the first approved treatment for SMA that tells Biogen's commitment to improving patients' lives and being at the heart of what we do. So we do have an exciting portfolio for Alzheimer's disease. Aducanumab, which actually shows in phase 3, is filed for FDA approval. BAN2401 is another molecule that we have in phase 3, and a couple of others which are in phase 1 and phase 2. And some of these, as you can see, are tau versus amyloid beta, and we are targeting to not only solve this problem with one molecule, with one potential drug to market, but a couple others helping the whole dementia and the Alzheimer's population. All right, as I talked about biosimilars, biosimilar is something similar to generic, but it's not really a generic, because to create a biosimilar, which is another generic to a biotechnology drug, it takes similar number of years. You have to prove the safety and efficacy. And Biogen is trying to bring the healthcare sustainability and trying to contribute to the overall healthcare savings by bringing the biosimilars. We have 3 anti-TNF biosimilars currently offered in Europe, and we are able to treat 200,000 patients right now in Europe with biosimilars. Our core growth areas are in MS and neurology. So you can see there are a couple of products that we have in phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. I won't go through this full slide because we have some emerging growth areas, but as you can see, this is a full pipeline, and our commitment to research and development in these spaces in SMA, ALS, and other diseases that don't have a treatment yet. We have a couple of drugs in phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3, and we are committed to bring these drugs to market to healthy patients who do not have any diseases, any treatments right now. All right, so this gives a full picture of where we are, where we were yesterday. Since 1978 to 2013, we had all the MS products. In 2016, we got the SMA. So today we have MS and SMA as our flagship products, but you can see in early 2020s, we are looking at diversifying into other areas, which are more neurological disorders that nobody else has a cure for. And the first one that we are looking at is Alzheimer's disease. But there are other products in pipeline for stroke and lupus, and ophthalmology is where we have the partnership with Nightstar to bring gene therapy for eye disorders. And our vision is to be able to not only treat the neurological disorders, but movement disorders, ophthalmology, immunology, and we are also looking at pain and other neurocognitive disorders. So from where we were, and you can see there's a lot of growth going on in 2020, and we are really fortunate to be in this space of exciting times where we are not only growing in what's our core commitment, but also expanding outside of this area and making sure the patients who have a huge unmet need can be met through these disease treatments. We are also known for our manufacturing facility. We are one of the largest producers of biologics in biotech. We have 2 manufacturing facilities, one in RTP, North Carolina, and the other one is in Switzerland, which recently opened up Solothurn. There is huge bioreactor capacity that we have, 248 kiloliters, there are huge 3 bioreactors, 15,000 liters each that manufacture these drugs. And just to give some background on oral drug versus a biotechnology drug, when I say oral, it's a pharma drug. It takes just a day to manufacture a pharma drug versus it takes a month or sometimes 2 months to manufacture one batch of a biotechnology drug. And what that entails is we use the cells, living cells, and grow the cells. Once the cells are grown, we extract the protein and purify. And all that process is done in huge bioreactors through centrifugation, and also making sure we purify the material before it's packaged to send to the customers. And we have a huge global supply chain. 102 countries receive our products with 39 direct affiliate markets. Now, when we bring these new medicines to market, there is the whole huge, if you look at the healthcare landscape, we have HCPs, payers. So we have a patient services department within Biogen that collaborates with HCPs and payers and patients and make sure the patients are not only adhering to the drugs, but we can provide them access to our medicines. So we have all these organizations within the company, and we support the advocacy and patient organizations to make sure we are not only bringing the drugs to market, but also helping them at every step of the way once the drug is brought to the market. We are very professional, ethical, and compliant, and we have a responsibility to our shareholders as well. As the chart shows, we have grown year over year in terms of revenues. From 2015 to 2019, you can see our revenues have grown year over year. And this year, last year, it was 14.4 billion, which is pretty remarkable for a company of our size. And this is my favorite part. We are contributing to the communities where we live and serve. There is a huge community lab within Biogen RTP and the Cambridge area. And we do help a lot of middle school, high school kids to get interested in science and just, you know, show them biotechnology in a day. What does it look like to have a career within a biotech company? There are 54,000 plus students who have visited our community labs in the US since we have opened. There is 6.3 million that has been donated by our foundation to nonprofits and local communities in 2019. And 3,000 plus employees have participated in our annual Care Deeply Volunteer Day in 2019. So I would encourage everyone here who has their siblings or who is still in school to participate in our community lab, which hosts the summer programs. It has programs throughout the year to make sure kids you know, come to the company, see how they can see the cool experiments and get interested in science. All right, we are also committed to our employees, making sure we are environmentally sustainable, we are diverse and inclusive. There are 73 per 100 employees Biogen has worldwide, out of which 46% are held by the positions of director level and above are held by women globally. We are also ranked as the best place to work for LGBTQ equality for the past 7 consecutive years. And in terms of our carbon neutral, we are a carbon neutral company, and we are always committed to 100% renewable power commitment. Again, we live by our creed. We care deeply about making a difference. We work fearlessly. We do not give up even when challenged, pursuing innovation in all that we do. We are humbled by the opportunity to change lives. And I hope we change some lives today, and hope to have some people from NSBE and other students who are watching join Biogen, you know, explore a day within community lab, or look at the opportunities that Biogen has to offer. All right, so this is the...
Awesome, thank you very much. All right, so overview of Biogen is complete. So we're going to talk a little bit specifically about our engineering organization, trying to keep it high level, but just to give you an idea of what opportunities lay out there specific to the engineering space. So we have 2 gentlemen that are going to be presenting this piece both in the engineering organization. So first will be our Darian Richardson. He's been with Biogen for 9 years in our drug substance process engineering group in RTP. He has served at the company as a subject matter expert for our large scale and small scale cell culture, harvest, and purification processes. He has supported multiple therapeutic products by working globally and cross-functionally to provide guidance on equipment design, functionality, and capability to ensure success. He's led multiple improvement initiatives, including co-leading the development and implementations of the industry's first continuous discharge centrifuge used to clarify high-density mammalian cell cultures. He currently is the manager of our drug substance downstream engineering group, and he has a bachelor's and master's of science degree in industrial and systems engineering with research focused on biomanufacturing and tissue engineering. And with our Darian, we will also hear from James Etheridge, who is currently our validation manager at our drug product site. He's been part of the validation team since 2011, where he started at the drug substance site as a contractor and transitioned to a full-time employee in 2014. So a huge plug there for contract employment for those of you that are wondering. During his time with Biogen, he has been the validation lead for both upstream and downstream utility systems. He's led validation efforts for flexible volume manufacturing and led the chamber support team. He possesses 20 plus years of validation and project management experience in all aspects of validation. He leads audits with regulatory and partner agencies, presents validation approaches, and manages the engineering request. In addition to his management role, he leads the global cleaning and chamber teams and is a member of the validation BPOG, which is an operations group, a group industry of leaders working in concert, pooling knowledge, practices, and ideas. And he represents our company at CIP, SIP summits. So that's a lot they've been doing. So they'll talk to you a little bit about that. So welcome our Darian and James.
Thanks, Emily, for that introduction. Thank you, everyone, for attending. It's exciting to be here. Kind of like Mark, I appreciate the conversation we were having earlier. My father's a farmer. I grew up on a farm, so I appreciate this organization reaching out to both the inner cities, suburbia, and as well as the rural areas. So thank you again for that. Just getting right into the presentation here. So the RTP, I'll go over the RTP engineering overview, and then James will go over the RTP drug product site. I'll go over the drug substance site, and then he'll go over the validation, and then I'll go back and go over the plant engineering and project engineering. So here at RTP, both RTP facilities consist of about 7 groups that support automation, process equipment, utilities equipment, capital projects, and equipment validation across both sites. There's approximately 89 engineers across both sites. You can see them listed out here. Some of the groups are not included in this presentation, or engineers in global engineering. They really work on facility fit across sites and ensuring that we have the same standards. So as Jodica mentioned earlier, we do have a site in Switzerland. We had one in Denmark. And we of course we have 2 sites here in RTP. So also manufacturing sciences and technical development. They have engineers who work in the pilot plant, pilot scale, at the pilot scale level to do development, and also do development and tech transfers, instrumentation, and then also instrumentation and control is not represented, and that's typically what you would think about is your metrology department. So just want to make sure we kind of say that those are people that we have. So here's our 2 facilities that we have. They're right across from each other. I have an issue with the chat showing up on my window here. So we have the 900 Davis Drive facility. That's the drug product site, and then we have the 5,000 Davis Drive facility, and this is the drug substance site. Next slide. So just a little bit about it. Both Biogen and RTP, the ground was broken in 1995. The DS, so drug substance site, was primarily manufactures biologics, and it includes about 7 buildings and a central utilities plant or area that supports the buildings. Then we have the RTP drug product site, which I showed you earlier, and it's 2 buildings, and it also has a central utilities area. There's about 1,300 sites across, 1,300 employees across both sites. You can see some of the organizations contained within those sites. So just a little bit about the DS site, a little bit more detail. So we have 3 manufacturing facilities. Our first facility is a flexible volume manufacturing. The bioreactors are at 1,000 liter scale, and they're single use, so most of the stuff there is disposable. They run clinical biologics and purification for ASOs. We did approximately 15 batches last year. The next plant that we have, a manufacturing facility we have kind of within the DS site, is the 2,000 liter bioreactor scale plant. It uses all stainless steel equipment, and it manufactures commercial and clinical campaigns. There's 3 cell culture lines, 2 harvest suites, and 2 purification suites. And They did about 61 batches last year. And then lastly, we have the large scale manufacturing facility where we grow cells. We put them, the cells that Jodica was talking about earlier, at the 15,000 liter scale. So we have 6 of those bioreactors, and they're stainless steel. There's 3 cell culture train lines, so 2 bioreactors on each train. There's 3 harvest suites, and then there's 3 purification suites. And we did about 90 batches in 2019. Now, for those of you who know about biomanufacturing, biopharmaceutical, you know that 90 batches is a lot, but on top of that, those batches are diverse. That's a diverse product mix. So we have clinical batches there, we have commercial batches, we have some partner programs, batches going on there. So there's a lot of changeover, and that's one of the core competencies of Biogen is we offer the ability to be agile. We're agile at coming up with solutions and making sure that we serve our patients. So the drug substance process engineering group consists of 3 tech leads, and then also we call them responsible engineers. There's 14 of us within the group, and that's the group I lead, the downstream group. And what that group does is we call them responsible engineers because they're really the liaisons between a lot of other technical groups, technical development, which is like our research and development, R&D, as well as manufacturing sciences. And then we also liaisons between quality, validation, and manufacturing. And I'll go a little bit more into the details on a further slide. So also we have an automation engineering group at drug substance site. Again, that consists of about 7 tech transfer automation engineers, about 8 for daily support of manufacturing, and approximately 7 for systems. So these are systems that record out, data that's needed from processing to analytical data needed for the batches. Next slide. So just a little bit more detail on the process and automation engineering roles and responsibilities. So in a lot of these slides, you can replace engineering and equipment with the respective roles. So we design, specify, and install, commission new equipment and existing equipment, both automation and equipment. We also provide technical support and troubleshooting to manufacturing areas, including all those, the cell culture, process purification, as well as the harvest area. And we're considered to be, in these groups, technical experts on a lot of the unit operations you see in a typical protein therapeutics biomanufacturing organization, which has cell culture, bioreactors, perfusion, chromatography, unit operations, centrifugation, ultrafiltration, diafiltration, viral filtration, solution preparation, et cetera, et cetera. So some of the other roles that we have is we provide technical insight. Over here to your right, you can see some of the tech transfer process. It's really, when we bring a new product in or product in from a partner, we have this whole elaborate process that we go through to make sure that nothing is missed, that quality and compliance is kept. So we provide insight to those organizations, to MS, like I was saying earlier. We also investigate when we have issues. So one of the things is, we grow sales. And these cells, they love the media that we feed them to grow. There's also negative cells, bacteria, bioburden, who also likes the same types of cells. So there's a lot of things that we have to consider. It's not quite as easy, and I'm biased, as small molecules. Of course, I'm biased in saying that, but there's a lot of things that is harder to predict, like outside environmental impact. Because we are dealing with biologics. So we investigate a lot of those issues and help provide solutions to avoid future occurrence. One of the things that Emily said earlier is, I think one of the unique things about our role is we do work and we support manufacturing in this particular role, but we have opportunity to work with technical development and other groups to really drive change and implement new technologies. The continuous centrifuge is one type of technology that I work with on with technical development. We published a paper there, and and this is, I'm not just one. There's many times that we've worked and helped TD provide new technologies, brought them to the floor from infancy all the way to maturity. So Then one of the last things we do is we provide SME support for site and global regulatory inspections. So you can just kind of see how we improve systems. You can see a very complex system, and then you can see where we improve it here to the right. Take a complex system, we try to simplify it and make it work manufacturing the most simplest, elegant way to produce the results needed. So now I'll turn it over to James. He'll talk a little bit about the RTP drug substance site and validation, and then I'll come back to talking about the project engineering and plant engineering aspects of both sites.
Great. Thank you, Ardari. You all hear me? You hear me, Ardari?
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear you.
we can hear you.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Yeah, so thank you for this opportunity to present and talk to you guys today. I'm pleased to be able to do this, and it's really a pleasure that my company is taking part in reaching out and providing this opportunity for you guys. Mark and Ardarian, you guys definitely took me back talking about farming. You know, that took me back to my childhood, early teenage years. It's good to have other venues now, as far as what, options are available to you versus, when we're younger. And I'm glad that we have this opportunity to kind of go through this kind of stuff with you. So like Ardarian was saying, we also have the drug product site, which is across the street from our drug substance site. At this site, we have essentially two buildings. They house our parental facility, our OSM, our oligonucleotide synthesis manufacturing, excuse me, and our OSD, oral solid dose lines. And we also have a central utility area, just like the DS site. So we have direct support and site operations, various manufacturing operations and support teams, engineering teams, and also quality teams. Like Ardarian was mentioning, yes, the engineering department, that's where you will find most of your engineers. But in some of these other departments as well, they have engineering functions. They actively hire engineers as well. So, make sure you broaden your approach when you're looking at different opportunities to join Biogen. It's various things you can do there. So far as the process engineering side, the responsibilities are very similar to what they would be at the drug substance side of things. You support the PF, the OSM, the OSD, and our line 3. It's a new line coming up. You would support equipment changes, being the change owner whenever we need to modify a piece of equipment or we bring new pieces of equipment in. You would kind of be that change owner to get it onboarded, to go through the process, to go through the validation, to get it released to manufacturing. Once it's released to manufacturing, we would go through a troubleshooting process. When any issues occurred, they would call the responsible engineer, as Ardarian mentioned earlier. They would either troubleshoot over the phone. You may have to come on site to help troubleshoot and get the equipment back up and running. You also participate in commissioning and factory acceptance testing, providing support when we're looking at new pieces of equipment. It's always various projects going on and various new innovative pieces of equipment that we're investigating and we're looking to bring on board. So it's always ever changing, always some innovative things going on. Also, you'll be managing small projects and providing changeover and tech transfer support. Thank you. Also with our automation engineering team, just like the process team, you'll be providing troubleshoot for any automation issues. Also providing automation validation support and actual validation. It's two separate groups we have for automation validation and equipment validation, providing deviation and kappa management, working through data integrity compliance, tech transfer support and system ownerships over various automated systems we have, like Rockwell, building management systems, and like various PLCs as well. RTP validation, this will be my group that I currently manage. I manage the DP side, but I also came from the DS side. We work very closely together. The group, we kind of support each other. It's approximately 16 of us. We responsible for all of both sites, DS and DP, equipment validation, facility certifications, and cleaning validation. One thing I want to mention about validation, a lot of times it doesn't get the I guess the visibility as like project process engineering or automation engineering, but it's another role for you to keep in the back of your mind that, hey, this is another engineering realm that I can get into, and you would be doing a lot of the same things. With validation, it's essentially providing evidence that a process, an action, or a system does what we want it to do or what we specify it should be able to do. It's that it's consistent and it can produce a reproducible result over and over. And we provide documentation showing that. Thank you. So with the equipment validation, you have various phases to it. So you have your IQ, which is your installation qualification. You just verifying that, hey, I've got what I ordered, and you're going to document the parameters and the specifications of that piece of equipment. With the OQ, you're verifying the OQ operational qualification, excuse me. You're verifying the operation of the piece of equipment. Hey, this piece of equipment is supposed to be able to sterilize equipment. I need to ensure that, hey, I can run a recipe, it'll meet my operating temperatures, it'll run this cycle that I programmed, and it'll meet my parameters that are critical to the process. The performance qualification, PQ, that's when you're actually running it the way it's intended for manufacturing. I'm sorry, did I lose you guys?
We still got you.
Okay, my VPN was dropping out. And then we're also responsible for cleaning validation. So with cleaning validation, you have a stainless piece of equipment, as Ardarian was talking about before. Once we produce something in that stainless piece of equipment, before we bring the next batch in or before we go to a new product, we need to show that we were able to clean that piece of equipment back to specified ranges, and we use analytical methods to determine how clean it is, as well as visual inspections and other processes. We do it to ensure it's no batch-to-batch carryover within the campaign, and then also no carryover from one product to another, making sure there's no cross-contamination. It's performed on either new piece of equipment that come in and also modified pieces of equipment.
So just to finish things up, thank you, James, for that. Just to finish things up, we also have a plant engineering and project engineering. So plant engineering is really it's so interesting. You have this manufacturing facility, but you have this plant behind the plant, and they provide Wi-Fi, clean water, clean steam, clean gases, and electrical infrastructure to the facility, glycol. So that's like a whole nother function that we don't see as much, but let me tell you, it's a very, very important function. And then we also have project engineering on the next slide. So project engineering is just doing the project management and controls for capital projects at both sites. Development and oversight of the capital budget portfolio. They make sure the projects are safe, on budget, and on schedule. And they also onboard, offboard supervisory and external project contractors. So And I think those are the end of my slides there. Yep.
All right, awesome. Thank you, Ardarian and James. I think you are getting a lot of questions in the chat, so you guys will be busy probably during the Q&A. So that's awesome. So thank you everybody for your engagement so far. So a lot of our content was there, but this is more of the actual positions that are available to you and career paths. So I think this part will also be very interesting to everyone. So next, I would like to introduce Tom Kleber. I don't have nearly as a professional intro for Tom, so I apologize for that. But Tom started with Biogen this year as our university relations lead, and he is responsible for all of our intern and co-op hiring, which I know is going to be of great interest to a lot of people in this group. So Tom, thank you so much for being here, and look forward to hearing about those opportunities.
Yeah, thanks so much, Emily. That was a very professional introduction. So
Thank
great
you.
job. Thank you. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. As Emily mentioned, my name is Tom. I lead the internship program for Biogen, internships and co-ops. I'll say intern, but includes both. As Emily mentioned, I'm relatively new to Biogen, having joined the team in March, but I've worked in talent acquisition and higher education, enrollment management for the past 10 years or so. And so I was really excited to take on this role, which is a really great blend of my experiences. Jess Stewart is also on the team and is clearly the more photogenic of us. Jess is actually presenting at a different event tonight as we're just kicking off our fall recruiting season, so she couldn't be here. But Jess has been here for 3 years now and joined the university relations team in 2018. And we can go to the next slide. Thanks. So a real brief overview of our internship program. So Biogen is committed to providing experiential learning opportunities to students from all levels and all backgrounds, including undergraduates, masters, and PhDs. We hire around 150 interns each year in the US, with a significant number of them working at our office in RTP, as well as up here in Cambridge, which is where I work out of. Our internships span the entire organization, from research and development, pharmaceutical operations and technology, commercial, finance, HR, IT, et cetera. But that said, the majority of our interns are coming into technical roles, and there's a lot of opportunities for engineers. So I'm really excited to be meeting with you tonight. Regardless of the team that you're working on, though, we ensure that all of our interns are handed real projects that are providing strategic value for our business. So you won't be getting coffee unless it's for yourself. You'll be working on real and important initiatives under the guidance of a seasoned subject matter expert who's committed to your professional growth. Essentially, there are two different internship opportunities. Our traditional internship program lasts for 12 weeks over the course of the summer. And we also hire co-ops who typically join us for 6 months, starting either January or June. And so this slide here, as an example, in addition to the work that you'll be doing for us as an intern, we also make sure that you have the opportunity to have some fun, build your network, and learn more about our business overall. So this was kind of an interesting year with our program going virtual due to COVID, but we still ran a number of fun events, including a virtual escape room. We gave everybody a paid day off for our interns to volunteer in their community. It's called Care Deeply Day. We host weekly lunch and learn presentations led by leaders from across the company in different divisions, and you can see some examples here. Usually we cater those. This year, with everyone being virtual, we handed out gift cards to everybody so they could buy lunch for themselves. So we're really committed to ensuring that you have a good project, but you're also able to build your network and learn more about the various parts of our business. So you're walking away with a pretty complete picture of what Biogen looks like as much as possible within a 12-week time frame. Next slide. So this slide here, here are a few pictures from this year's program. Top left are some photos from our Care Deeply Day. As I mentioned, it's a day off that you get to volunteer in your community. We had, people, things like donating blood, writing cards to healthcare professionals, picking up trash. Normally we'd get everyone together and, either do things like work at a food bank or clean up a riverbank, stuff like that. This year we kind of had everybody pick their own volunteer activity within their own area. Top right, just an example of some of the swag that we sent out to all of our interns this year. A nice mug, t-shirt, can't let you walk away empty-handed. Bottom left is a slide from one of our lunch and learns this year. As I mentioned, we run those every week. And then bottom right is a quote from one of our MBA interns who joined us this year, who is new to healthcare, but recognized it as being the direction that she wanted to take her career in after interning with us, which is always really satisfying. Next slide. And then finally, I wanted to briefly share our recruiting timeline with everyone here, just so you know where we stand. So obviously we're in September, we're just kicking off recruiting for 2021. The vast majority of our internships and co-ops will open up in January, if not slightly earlier. And then we typically wrap up hiring in the April timeframe. If you're interested in joining us, keep an eye out on our careers page. As you see the positions get posted, you can apply for them directly. I'm also going to drop a link in the chat here right now where you can join our talent community. Just fill out your information, upload a resume. We'll get you into our system and we'll notify you as soon as our positions open up so that you can be amongst the first people to apply when they do. But with that, thank you everyone for the time. Happy to stay on, answer questions. And yeah, I'll pass it on from here.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. I know there will probably be some questions around interns, so thanks for sticking around. All right, so our next ones are very personal. They are going to be specific Biogen testimonials from people that have come from different backgrounds, and just to give you an idea of what their path has been. They're just 2 examples, so there's plenty more, but they're a pretty good data set. So the first person, and I'm not going to do bios for these people, so I'd be stealing their thunder, being that they're going to talk about themselves through this. So our first speaker is going to be Kofi Dua, and he is a process engineer 2 here at Biogen. So I'll let him tell you a little bit about himself and kind of his career path at Biogen.
Thanks, Emily. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you.
Okay. All right. So, as Emily said, my name is Kofi Dua, and I've been working at Biogen since 2013. I currently work as a process engineer in the oligonucleotide synthesis manufacturing facility, where I essentially work directly alongside manufacturing associates to manufacture synthetic RNA. So today I would like to tell you a little bit about myself and essentially how I got to work for this innovative and truly pioneering company. So as I mentioned before, my name is Kofi Dua. I was born and raised in Accra, Ghana. It's a small country in West Africa. And when I was about 10 years old, my mother and I got the opportunity to move to the United States. Now, while I was in high school, I got a second opportunity to join my high school scholars program. And through that, I was able to graduate high school essentially a year early, as well as earned enough college credits to bypass what would otherwise have been my college freshman year. So after graduating high school, I decided to enroll at NC State, go Wolfpack, whoever's in the building, after spending about, this was after I had spent about a year at North Carolina, A&T, Aggie Pride, whoever's in the building. Now, while at NC State, I initially studied chemistry, and however, by the end of my college career, I was fortunate enough to have earned 2 degrees, one in chemistry and the other in chemical engineering. It was also while at NC State that I was introduced to a company called Biogen. And to be honest with you, I knew nothing about them. However, by the time I had been thoroughly immersed in what is known as chemical engineering, I certainly knew exactly who Biogen were, and more importantly, I knew what they stood for and the work that they were doing. So after graduating college, I moved to China initially to work for a food science company in order to finish some undergraduate research and catalysis that I was pursuing while an undergrad at NC State. Now, after successfully completing this research, I was offered what was a pretty extremely lucrative job offer. However, I was a bit homesick, so I decided to move back to the U.S. About a week after returning home, I got a job with Cree as a process engineer in their surface prep and wafer fabrication department. While working there, I was responsible for ensuring that the silicon carbide crystals that were synthetically grown um, were grown and were fit enough to be used in producing their LED light bulbs and other semiconductor products. Now, unfortunately for Cree, a few months after accepting the job offer, Biogen came knocking at my door, and well, I couldn't help myself. I had to answer that one. So I initially accepted a role at Biogen as a manufacturing associate. And to be entirely honest, initially, I didn't, not to say I disliked the position, but, I didn't feel that it was a position that I could like. However, I think the universe always knows exactly what it's doing because I grew to love it. I mean, I absolutely loved it. What the position enabled me to do was to essentially apply what I had learned in the classroom into what the real world application of it was. And to be honest, I loved every aspect of it. However, as the universe would have it, again, after about a year or so of working for Biogen, uh, I was itching for grad school, or so I thought. I decided to then leave Biogen and give grad school a try, but I soon realized that grad school was not it for me. So I quickly decided to give my chemistry hat a try. And moving from there, I got a position at Hospira working as a QC analyst, where I was performing finished product release testing. So while there, I truly did get a few opportunities to work on some really cool projects and learned a lot about what small molecule manufacturing was all about. And although I enjoyed the work there, the work there and what I was doing, I absolutely hated the commute. This was about a 70-minute drive to and from work. So I decided to this time knock on Biden's doors. And well, I must have done something right the first time because they were eager to let me back in, and better yet, this time they hired me in a role that enabled me to learn even more about what manufacturing actually meant. In this new role as a production engineer, I became essentially the on-floor support for the REs and the automation team. My main responsibility in this role was to triage any process or automation issues that would come up during the manufacturing process. It is during my time as a production engineer that I truly got to understand what the brains behind the operation was. It literally sparked so many things within me and opened my eyes into the world of next gen manufacturing. What I think helped me the most though was the fact that I worked as the night shift engineer, and as the thing about manufacturing is, when things are to go wrong, they often go wrong in the middle of the night. So I had to be quick. You had to know your stuff, and I think that really it really opened my eyes into learning so much about Biogen. And I will say that this position also opened another door for me. And this time I was hired on initially through what Biogen has as a TWA, which is a temporary work assignment. I was loaned out from my department, which was in small scale cell culture, into the oligonucleotide synthesis manufacturing facility. And after completing a few projects there, I had the opportunity to get hired on as a full-time employee there on that site. And I was hired on as a process engineer. And so currently my role in the oligonucleotide synthesis manufacturing is to essentially manufacture synthetic RNA, as I previously mentioned. I think that one of the things that, to be honest, has enabled me to truly maneuver, in such a manner in my short career is the fact that I think that I've always had a curiosity for learning. And it's something that, I learned as a young kid to really just make lifelong learning a priority. And so, I am glad and I am extremely humbled that Biogen has this opportunity and given us, people like me, an opportunity to truly showcase what it means to work for, an organization such as Biogen. And I wish each and every one of you the best of luck. And when the time is right, definitely consider Biogen. It's truly a remarkable place to work. I just cannot speak enough about what Biogen has done for me. And outside of Biogen, one thing I think I've been able to do is just learning about the business and that sort of thing. It's truly enabled me to not only give back to Biogen, but to be able to give back to Ghana, where I was born and raised. And so, anyways, I won't keep blobbering on here. I hope that the little bit I've been able to kind of share about my background can inspire some of you guys, and hope that you guys will seek out Biogen when it's time for you guys to embark on the next journey in life. Yep.
Thank you, Kofi.
No
All
problem.
right. So we're going to make up all time, but I really am excited for you to hear from our next speaker, because she's a little bit different than the rest of the people that you've heard from. She did not go down an engineering track, but she was actually a part of NSBE. So I want to introduce Samaya Haley, who is a senior program manager of our patient services group, and she's going to give you a quick overview of herself and her maybe non-traditional path to get to Biogen. So thank you, Samaya.
Hi, thank you. I'm super excited to be here. I am a NSBE alum. As you can see, I went to UC Davis. I was a STEM student. I studied biotechnology. I actually joined NSBE largely for the sense of community. I was on a campus where it was about 2 to 3% combined Black and African American. And so for me, I found refuge in NSBE, and just having that sense of community, having other, Black and brown faces that were studying STEM and being challenged in the same way I was, and being able to, kind of commiserate together. NSBE had amazing conferences and parties. So I definitely participated in that. But, coming out of Davis, I joined Chiron, which is a biotechnology company. I spent about 3 years there as a QC analyst. I think that has been spoken about before in terms of, testing on-market products for their quality and their analytical attributes. From there, I kind of decided to do a slight pivot. I actually went to Columbia Business School and got my MBA. I spent, time since then doing roles such as management consulting. I worked for a company called Capgemini, focusing in on our life sciences practice. All of my clients were about top 10 or top 20 pharmaceutical companies, from Pfizer to Daiichi Sankyo to Sanofi Aventis to Sanofi Pasteur, for example. From there, I actually took an opportunity at Pfizer and their internal consulting team. So very similar. You can just consider it maybe a Deloitte, except in-house. They have their own internal team. There, I worked across the business, from medical affairs to our global health and value to some of our commercial teams for our therapeutic areas, and solving some of their big strategic problems. And I also joined our biosimilar strategy and commercial excellence team as senior manager for biosimilars at Pfizer. Most recently, clearly I'm here, I've landed at Biogen. I am a part of our patient services team. It is a tremendous team. We are growing, hiring. I think it's been spoken to a little bit before, but our main role is really to remove non-clinical barriers so that patients can sort of get on and remain on therapy. We play a huge role in helping, I would say, patients navigate very complex disease area and treatments. We've talked about them: multiple sclerosis, Alzheimer's, SMA. I think there's been a couple of questions in the chat, around pharmaceutical versus biotech. Biotech is really specializing in biologics. It's extremely complex, and part of that complexity would be the patient journey. So having an organization like Patient Services available to patients to help them consult with their insurance coverage. We help them identify, what may be covered for their drug treatment. We help them identify, if they have financial challenges, what are some of the opportunities that we can provide, from a copay program to financial assistance, to really aid patients that need it to get on and stay on therapy. So there's a lot of the work that we do. We are planning again for a launch of one of our Alzheimer's assets. We're super excited. We're a large team. We care deeply. We work fearlessly, all of that, But I also want to spend a little bit of time just in general, kind of pulling back the veil of what opportunities look like at a biotech in general. And so on the right-hand side of the slide, what you see sort of in blue is sort of the big, large areas of opportunity types and career paths, and how businesses may typically be structured in biotech or pharma. So commercial really refers to the marketing and selling of an asset. Sort of in that division is typically, doing three things. One, clarifying market value and opportunity. Two, establishing value proposition. And three, customer and patient engagement. And that comes in a lot of different flavors, which I kind of have a little bit on this page, in terms of our field team, strategic planning, patient services, marketing, and multi-channel excellence. That's more of your digital innovation. Next would be sort of the farm, tech, and operations. I think we've talked, quite extensively sort of about some of the opportunities within that, and business enablement and research and development. I think I've color-coded this chart just really to show, across pharma, there's a diverse role of opportunities, within the various divisions that you might be interested in. And some of them do, require, let's say, an engineering background would be preferred, or STEM would be preferred, but there are a large amount of opportunities available to STEM and non-STEM or diverse backgrounds available, within pharma. We are tech, we are digital, we are marketing, like every, type of opportunity that you can think of, at, let's say a CPG company, we have here in pharma and in biotech. And I would say if you are, committed to solving some of the most complex problems possible, I would definitely say join a biotech company, join Biogen. We are committed to neurosciences. I think it's been highlighted earlier. Neurosciences is probably one of the most challenging and therapy areas to navigate, to invest in, and to bring a product to market. And so, if you're committed to, again, solving complex problems, Biogen is definitely the place. If you care deeply, work fearlessly, we are definitely the place for you. I started in March, and I was always looked up to Biogen as, a pioneer, but sort of being a part of the company and experiencing the focus, the discipline, coupled with the deep empathy that we have, not only for our patients, but also as internal colleagues. I would love to speak, on hours on sort of our internal response to a lot of the social dynamics that have been happening externally. I kind of just sum it up to say that I'm very pleased to have joined this organization and to have the support of Biogen as, a Black woman, during this time. So thank everyone, for joining the call. I'm looking forward to starting a Q&A.
Thank you so much, Samaya. All right, so we're going to move to our Q&A panel. A lot of these faces that you have already seen, so I won't ask them to introduce themselves. But Tony, before we start, any ground rules, or do you want to say anything?
Yes, I do want to just kind of chime in and say this has been wonderful and excellent. I want to just let everybody know we are a little behind schedule. So I am going to try to, help us to keep our answers concise. And then we also have already, our team in the background has already put the questions for us in the Google Doc. So they've been working pretty feverishly. So that's going to help us out. That's it. We may have to kind of chime in if some answers kind of begin to take us a little longer. What's the best way, Emily, for people to continue this conversation offline? Is there a forum or another way? Should we just get these questions and maybe we talk later to figure out how we can answer them if we don't get through them all?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got next slide will be a way for everyone here to engage with us after over. And then we will also make sure that we follow up with this team. I think you're going to talk about this at the end, but if everybody makes sure that your information is entered into Eventbrite, Biogen would love to follow up with everybody that's participated tonight, so you have an avenue if all the questions don't particularly get answered right now. So just a shout out to my Q&A panel. Thank you so much for coming. The people that we have not heard from, I'm just going to let you say your name and your job title just so the group knows where you're coming from and what group you work in. And if everybody could, we want to give good answers, but just keep it as concise as possible to try to get through as many as possible. That'd be great. So for those that, all my panelists, if you could turn on your video, that'd be great. And for those that haven't spoken up yet, if you could just shout out your name and what group you work for at Biogen.
Hey everyone, I'm Cameron. I work within talent attraction, so HR. I also studied STEM, I have a biochemistry degree, and been at Biogen since February.
Hi, my name is Donna Austin. I'm Associate Director in Procurement. I've been at Biogen 15 years, so I'm probably the person that's been here the longest on this panel, I'm pretty sure, so.
Hi, I'm Renita Julian. I'm closely behind Donna at 14 years. I worked in Biogen. I'm a Director of Information Technology. It's really great to be here.
Hello, my name is Natalie Upchurch, and I am close to Donna and Renita with the years that I've been at Biogen. I've been at Biogen for 9.5 years. My formal education is in electrical engineering, and I currently am in a manufacturing support function. So I lead the investigations team for the US.
Very good. All right, well, I think that covers it. I'll let the NSBE team start asking questions. My panelists, if you feel like you're the best person or you're even an equipped person, I won't even say the best, you're an equipped person to answer the question, feel free to chime in. And there may be some that we get stumped on, so we're okay with that. But if the NSBE team wants to start with the first questions.
Sure. So what is the most in demand type of pharmaceutical I guess that's for anyone. Is it tablets, injectables, inhalants? Which one is most in demand?
I don't know about high Samaya. I'm not sure about in demand per se, but I would say that when you look at the pharma and biotech industry in general, there's been a large shift towards specialty therapeutics. So for example, probably about 10 or 15 years ago, it was a large market for small molecules. It continues to be big, but it's highly saturated. So you see a lot of traditional pharmaceutical players, such as Pfizer, for example, getting more involved in specialty therapeutics. So that would be probably the big growth area of identifying, some of these more complex disease states, whether it's oncology. There's a huge push in oncology, obviously Biogen, neuroscience, and there's a lot of areas for specialty and a lot of room for specialty therapeutics. And again, you see a lot of companies sort of investing their pipelines into these areas.
Okay. Also, Emily, maybe this one's for you or someone who's in HR. What is the spectrum of disciplines that work at Biogen? I heard you say you have quite a few different majors and backgrounds. So what does that look like?
Yeah, so Samaya kind of talked about that in her slide. If you'll see all of the different things, we always tell people, even if you're not a scientist, if you're not an engineer, maybe you're one of those people out there that you're interested in HR or IT or finance. We're a large company. We have all of those spaces. So there are a ton of different disciplines, and our career site is really educational on what those span across. So if we still have to keep our lights on, and we still have to, make sure that we have maintenance people. They may look a little bit different than other companies, but we hire a lot of different opportunities. So don't count yourself out if you're not a scientist or if you're not an engineer, because there's definitely a space for you. I'm here.
So as a follow-up to that, did anyone come into Biogen mid-career from a totally different industry?
100%. 100%.
Okay.
Anybody on this panel by chance?
You're right.
Yeah, actually, I came from from Cummins Diesel, so it was
Okay.
actually manufacturing diesel engines. So
Yep.
so
Pretty
engineering
big
from
difference.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I know there's some mid-career people who are wondering, like, how do you pivot into something that you're totally not familiar with? You guys was, throwing out some words we never heard before. So we're just wondering, is that something that you learned on the job? Did you have to have some kind of prior training or something that would help that pivot easier?
Yeah,
Let me
this is
jump in.
Renita. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Renita. Let me jump in a little bit. So I came from a military background. I grew up on a farm, didn't have anything to do. We joined the military just to get out of the small little town that I was in. There wasn't a lot of opportunities there. And I joined a pharmaceutical company right out of the military. Somebody looked out for me and helped me kind of get into a space, but it doesn't matter what you were doing. I can tell you my military training had nothing to do with any of this. And to look at where I've got today and the opportunities, I think there's a lot of opportunities in Biogen or across the pharmaceutical field for folks to get into and then grow. Like I said earlier, get your foot in the door, and man, all kind of stuff will open up. I've had jobs I never even dreamed exist. So yeah,
Awesome.
I think it's very broad. Sorry,
Thank
Renee,
you.
go ahead.
And for me as well, I grew up at Biogen pretty much in IT. So when I started, I was actually at a clinical resource organization called PPD. I don't know if you know Quintiles, but they're a direct competitor. And I was working on the business side, so I was not in IT. And I came into Biogen in functional IT role, which really entails kind of having one foot in the IT and one foot in the business, and really learned IT on the job. And I started off as a business analyst, and then got promoted through the ranks about every 2 to 3 years, and now I'm a director within information technology. So you can
Awesome.
really grow your career within Biogen, and I'm
Excellent.
a
Excellent.
testament to that.
Awesome. Awesome. And I will just say, I do see some other questions chiming in. We won't get to all questions. We'll try to do the best we can, and we'll figure out how we can get these answers to you. And also, I'm going to ask my high sig team, if you guys want to come off on mute and chime in on anything, definitely help me out with that. I do see some questions about human factors engineering opportunities. I guess based on what you just said, you do have opportunities for people with human factors engineering.
Yes.
Have done, okay, okay. And also, let me just kind of scroll. I got two screens going here. Have you, can you talk about any research you may be doing with COVID-19? Is there anything you can speak to on that? Are you involved in that? And if so, is it something that you're able to just take? I'll ask you, Mark. Is there anything you
Yeah,
can,
let
you can
me
speak
take
to?
this one because
Yeah,
I don't want to get any of these guys in trouble. Let me
right,
take this.
exactly.
So correctly, the answer that I want to give you is there's a lot of stuff in the news lately, and I want to be careful about what we're doing and then what's actually public.
Right.
So there's some stuff in the news you saw recently. Vir was one of the partnerships. They're entering in a phase 2, phase 3 trial for monoclonal antibody treatment specifically. We'll get a readout in early Q1, and so I'm not talking out of school or telling anything that's not publicly out there. But yes, there's always opportunities inside this. The biopharmaceutical company is as big as it is, it's also very small. And so these relationships and these partnerships that happen between companies, and I think that COVID has been one thing that has pulled a lot of us together. Sometimes it's compete intensely against each other, but I think COVID's something that we've all tried to collaborate on a little bit. So it's been nice to me over 30 years to kind of see where this is taken. This is the first time I've really seen the community kind of pull together around a common cause. It is a global issue.
Awesome. Next question says, when you talk about diversifying your portfolio, what other disorders or research projects are you planning on focusing on, and how has the interprofessional collaborations with the company changed as a result?
That one me again, guys?
Yeah, I think that's you, Mark.
Yeah.
Silence means you, Mark.
Yeah, I got that one. So there's a lot of collaboration, a lot of partnership. The one thing I love about Biogen is the partnership that we've made with other big pharma companies that are out there. We have a space where we develop our own pipeline, but we also partner with these other companies internally. And we have a network of over 50 external manufacturing partners that are out there helping us make what we're doing. We're not doing this by ourselves. I saw one of the other questions pop through. We have plants in Switzerland. We have a facility over there that also does some of the things that Myra was talking about earlier. We have a Cambridge facility that's basically technical based. I saw that one come through, but it's really a broad network of things that are there. And again, if it's in neuroscience, we're going to play there. The one discipline that we have is we're not going to chase other modalities. So it's in that space, and specifically in there for the partnerships is where you'll see us play. And again, I think that's where our forte is. Our science that we have and our pipeline in that space is bigger than anybody. If you put everybody else together, they don't measure to Biogen's neuroscience space. It's a hard space to get in, and it has been for years. I remember the first drug that I made probably 15 years ago to try to get into this. It was a great drug, but we couldn't get across the blood-brain barrier. And what that basically means is you have to be able to get medicine across the barrier that the body protects the brain. And if you can't get that medicine into the brain to do the work that you want to be able to do, it won't work. The drug actually worked, but we couldn't get it across the barrier. And so you look at things today like the Alzheimer's drug that's up for approval, that we should know sometime we've submitted and had the FDA acknowledge that. That's the first in class. And that's been something that people's had. And what a horrible disease to think about people's minds decaying. And again,
Right.
that's a space where other folks haven't necessarily played. So we're always in that space. We're always open to partnerships and things that are there, but we will continue to play in neuroscience.
Awesome, awesome. And you talked about the community lab earlier. Is there a virtual version of that? I have some people wanting to know how is that going to be handled next summer? Or is there a virtual version that maybe even high schoolers can get involved with now?
Yes, they are working through a virtual version right now. They're really doing a great job of kind of transitioning in the current landscape. The community lab has its own part of our website. So if you want to go to the Biogen website and search the community lab, they have a lot of information on how you can join, how you can sign up, what programs that they offer. So they solely focus on the external community. So you can find everything that you need on their website.
All right. Next question says, what would you say are the things that distinguish a biotech company from pharmaceutical companies? Are they the same? I think we talked about that one a little bit earlier. Did someone chime in on that? The difference between biotech and pharmaceutical?
I can if you want me to.
Yes.
Yeah, so on a basic level, pharma product is chemical versus a biotechnology. You can think of it as coming from living organisms. So, made of proteins, living cells. And when you think about manufacturing or the route of administration, it's very different. The manufacturing for a biotech drug would take like somewhere 30 to 60 days, where you are growing the cells, and as I explained, purifying and all that process with QC checks takes somewhere close to 45 to 60 days, versus an oral drug, which is pharma, it might be every minute. Once you have
Okay.
the chemical formulary, you might be able to manufacture it pretty soon. And on the patient side, the route of administration, what we're talking about is it's an injectable. So a biotechnology drug is generally an IV injectable or a pen, something that you can inject yourself, versus a pharma drug would be an oral drug. You just take it like, the regular drug that you take. And there are other differences, but on a higher level, that's the biggest
That's the main
differences.
difference.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. How important is data science in pharmaceuticals and biotech?
Huge. There's no way to be able to do the clinical trials that we're doing without those data sets. And the diversity of those clinical trials as we bring those in to test these out, even when we start with early, the tox studies that happen early on to make sure that we don't see any safety signals on it. And we look for safety and efficacy, and that is built through patient profiles. Each and every one of us are made up with different DNA and different genetics. We all act and perform a little bit differently. In a biologic, you're basically putting a protein in the body that the body's already trying to use or has too much of or too little of. And so it's a lot different than just adding a synthesized molecule, which may be something like a tablet that would just go in and the body would clear it with either the kidneys or the liver. So it's a very different process. And without that data, there would be no way for us to get these products to market.
Awesome. What are some of the challenges in manufacturing or validation that you've had in the past? Like
Oh, it's
2018
easy.
versus 2020.
Super easy. This stuff that we do. No, I'm teasing you. It's incredibly complex. I remember when I started and went through some of this early on, we were pulling parts out of a bin and building skids that we have today. What I mean by a skid, it's a piece of equipment that you can go in almost like a kiosk and buy. It's not as easy. Again, Darian, I didn't mean to simplify that. I know you guys are a lot harder than that, but basically how we build these skids and put them together used to be a very manual process. There'd be hoses and valves and different connectivity. Today, the complexity between the automation and the valves and the pressure and the safety of what we're doing, how those things are called, a thing called arbitration, and how the valves get assigned to be able to be used in a boundary of a system. It's mind-blowing, Tony. It's nothing like what it was when I started early on. You look at these plants, they're truly amazing. It looks like we're launching rocket ships. And it is very simple still in nature in what we're doing, but that's where these roles come in that these guys have been talking about, and the roles that they're playing today, to be passionate about pulling that in and be able to do that, because you can step from one thing to another and be in a totally different space, never even have to change your drive to work or your parking spot and still be at the same company. And so, like I mentioned earlier, there is nobody in the world that has all of the modalities, all the unique characteristics, everything all into one, as what you see with Biogen and RTP. And I've lived all over the globe and worked all over the globe. There is none. So it's very much different.
Awesome, awesome. We are going to have to wrap up shortly. I do have a few more questions. Let's see. What cell lines do you mainly use and why? You spoke about next generation manufacturing as well. Has Biogen been a leader in this space?
So the cell line, again, I think this one's me. Somebody want to take a cell line, or is this one me again? Got it. So cell line development, as we pull this together, each of them are unique, and a lot of them are based on what we're looking for as far as fit within the biologic profile of the molecule that we're trying to develop, protein specifically. So the cell line that you want, obviously we want one that's going to produce and be higher growing, but we need it to be robust enough to carry the protein through the production generation for us to build enough of a quantity to be able to purify it and turn it into a product. So it's very unique. Every single one of our products have a different cell line. We have a cell banking facility that we just brought online last week, and you're like, what's cell banking? Well, that's an area where we keep cells and these cell lines that start our process from the frozen vials. We lay those down. It's called laying them down, but you lay a baseline down of a bunch of cells that are in place. When we thaw that to move that forward, the cells can do what they do and have been doing for billions of years, is replicate. And so as they replicate themselves, the protein specific of interest that we want will then be generated by that cell line for the exact, I'll call it disease state that we're looking for. And then the magic comes in where we start to purify that cell line. The biologics happen in the upstream side, the chemistry happens in the downstream side, the engineering happens from cradle to grave, and then all of the support functions make it all happen.
Awesome. And then I will wrap up with a few questions. I know we have quite a few questions coming from students, people wanting to know about qualifications for internships and undergraduate, underclassmen. Are the GPA cutoffs there? That's one. And then the other one I see over here is, do you have an engineering kind of like a development program? You have a development program for manufacturing or production as well?
I can happy to handle the internship question.
Okay.
So qualifications will vary a little bit from position to position, right? So
okay.
Across the company, you know, if you're looking in, you know, to join our R&D organization, like we're typically looking for somebody who has lab experience. But generally, like what's more important is, you know, we're looking for individuals who are, you know, enthusiastic, eager to learn, have a general idea of what direction that they want to take their career in, and you know, have some academic experience in the area that they want to then move then to professional experience. And this is an opportunity to kind of bridge that gap between the academic and the professional. So best advice I can offer is to take a look at the job description and see if, you know, your experience matches up with you know, with what we're looking for. But we're not looking for experts. We're looking for people that are eager to learn, right?
Awesome. And then also, is there any interest, and maybe this is something to discuss further offline, of maybe having some projects that even college students could work on? You know, maybe a Biogen and the NC State project, or a Biogen and the NC A&T project. Is there any interest, right? And you don't have to answer right now, but there's some interest out there to maybe see if there's some ways to maybe leverage the community lab for the college level, or, you know, some kind of way to give students a little bit more exposure and insight at like a collective effort. So there's some interest around that as well. Have you done anything like that before with other universities?
I've done that with NC State, right, Mark? And you probably have more. I know we've partnered with NC State to do some projects at Biogen.
Yeah, so in my past, I certainly have, Tony. You know, again, I think this is something that I'm looking forward to. I talked to you a little bit before we started. I think that partnership is very important to me. We actually would send some of our staff down to teach at some of the biotech schools that had biotech specific programs. And then we would give time off for our staff to come down and help. And in that mentoring and that coaching that comes back in, the first question that you ask about, are there projects? Absolutely. We just have to be careful about the intellectual property and things that are there and what we're sharing and those projects. We want them to be meaningful. And so that's where I think if there's a balance of how do you pull that off? But there is certainly a collaboration to be had. I in my California facility, we used to do that quite a bit with the local UC schools. And there's no reason we can't do it with NC as well. So awesome. I absolutely think so.
Awesome. Well, for the sake of time, I am going to stop it here, but there's still questions coming in. And I know that some of the panelists may have answered some of them in the chat. I do see a few things taking place in the chat as well. So panelists, if you see a question there that you can chime in on, feel free to do so. At this time, we're going to go back to, we can go to the next slide and proceed. But I want to just clap. Everybody's not going to hear clapping, but I want to thank you guys for just taking your time out and pulling such a great effort together for us tonight. It's been very much appreciated.
Thank you, Tony. And I'm just going to give a quick plug before I give it back to you. So if you will take your phone and you will take a picture of this and scan it, it will lead you directly to our recruiting system where you can enter your information, you can attach your resume, and you will be dropped into a specific group for us to keep up with you that you attended this event, and we can reach out to you. So please make sure that you take this, and whether it's tonight or later this week, give us your information, stay in contact with us. This is a really great way for us to keep into communication. And I did see a lot of questions in the chat around what positions do you have specific for this, or what qualifications do you require? Everything is posted on our career site. So if you want to do a little bit of self-studying, www.biogen.com/careers is where you can see everything that we're hiring in every part of our organization globally. So it may answer a lot of those questions, and you can sign up for job alerts based on your interest there as well. So thank you so much for having us, but this is a really great way to keep in touch, and we'll also be following up with an email and hopefully getting some answers to your questions that maybe we didn't get to tonight.
Awesome. And as Emily mentioned earlier, if you have not signed up for the Eventbrite, please do so. We will keep that open through tonight so that you can sign up and get on the email distribution list. And I also know, Emily, that you guys are going to be at NC State's Virtual Career Fair on September 15th. You're going to be at North Carolina A&T State University on September 15th. Are there any other schools that might be represented where you will be participating in the virtual fair coming up
Those
soon?
are the two on the same day, but I will make sure when we send out a follow-up to everybody that I'll let you know where Biogen plans to be. I'll connect with Tom. He's a pioneer in that space to make sure that you know where you can follow up with us. Please do come out to these events and seek out Biogen, because you can talk to probably a lot of people that you saw tonight, as well as some new people that you haven't seen before as well.
Awesome. Excellent. All right. And let's go ahead to our next slide. And I'll let Carlin do this.
Yeah, so on behalf of NSBE RCP, I would like to present a certificate of appreciation to Biogen for its voluntary effort serving as a guest company participating in exploring biotechnology with Biogen. This event was hosted in partnership with the Healthcare Innovation Special Interest Group, and everyone on the panel will be receiving an individual certificate. So be on the lookout for those. But again, thank you so much for participating and sharing everything that you had to share with Biogen.
Awesome. And I'll just mention real quick too, Carlin, panelists, take a look at the chat. People are giving their love, thank yous and everything to you. So they do appreciate you, and people are putting some nice remarks about you in the chat. So go ahead, Carlin.
Okay, real quick announcements. I know we're over time, so I'm just gonna fly through these real quick. We do have an event survey, and we will send this out via email, but you can also scan this QR code or go to the website and take a quick little survey for all participants, just so we can kind of get a feel for what you like, what you didn't like, and what you like to see more, and who you like to connect with. Also, become a member of NSBE. If this is new to you, the chapter is new to you, or the organization is new to you, we would love to have you on board. Again, we're all about fulfilling the mission, so you can get some more information from our chapter website, and also more information about healthcare innovation from their special interest group website.
Carlin, let me just echo that there's a lot of Biogen employees that should be NSBE members now. So
Yes.
and reading up, and Mark, you can join as well. Everybody can join. You don't have to be an engineer to join. You don't have to have brown skin to join. So definitely appreciate that.
No, thank you. Tony, again, Carlin, I really want to thank you guys for letting us do this tonight and being a part of this. It means a lot to me, new to the community. And again, like I said, reaching out to put back what I believe people looked out for me along the way. And it's important to me to be able to build that partnership. And it's something that I'm passionate about and love doing. So thank you guys for the venue, for the forum, letting us be able to do this. And really I feel good about it. And that doesn't happen all the time. I end up in meetings quite a bit that I don't always feel good, but tonight I really, really appreciate it, and thank everybody for what they did. My team as well. Nice job standing up, guys. Gals.
Thanks so much. Moving on to the career fair readiness. Now that these career fairs are coming up, we do have some, the chapter is holding a virtual career fair readiness where we're navigating, changing the landscape. Collegiate and professional attendees are invited. You can register again at our website. That will be held September 10th from 6:30 to 8 p.m. We have another event coming up, which is Women Who Inspire, Startup Conversation with Nancy Confrey and Dr. Angelique Johnson. This will be September 23rd from 4 to 5. And another QR code where you can scan, register, or you can go to the website. The partnerships are down below who will be in attendance as well. And lastly, the Process Improvement Special Interest Group is holding and hosting a virtual PMP coaching by 3T Institute. They are offering a virtual coaching to become a PMP, and this is the only one in the nation that has virtual PMP course with coaching. There's you can see on this slide, there's a lot that it includes with this. It's a very, very exclusive NSBE membership price or rate as compared to what you kind of see out there online. So you can register to the course again by QR code, and more information is on that website. But again, this is through the Process Improvement Special Interest Group, and you can get more information through the QR code. Am I missing anything else? I think that's it. Tony, Arthur, do you have anything else?
No,
I don't have.
was
Go ahead,
excellent.
Arthur.
Yeah, that was excellent. Thank you. I just want to echo what Tony shared earlier. We're really excited by the attendance and everyone who's here on the call. We want to continue to engage with you. So please make sure that you complete the survey so we can stay in touch and let you know about future programs, but also help you become an engaged member, whether you are in the RTP area or anywhere across the country. Tony?
Thanks everybody for coming out. We've had a wonderful time. We'll end here tonight, and I'll stick around for a little bit. I know there's a lot of questions, and Biogen, again, we appreciate you coming. We'll have to do this again, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Everybody have a great night, have a great weekend, and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Be safe.
Great night. Thank you all.
Good night.
Thank you.